In 2025 was released on French Disney Plus a TV show called Ghosts. After having watched it, I learned that this was the French adaptation of a British show. And as it turns out, there are multiple versions of that show, including an American one, and it is available on Netflix. So I watched both the French and the American show, and I thought they were both so interesting in their differences. So here I am, making a video about it. I recently did a similar video about the American adaptation of the French TV show HPI, and I had a lot of fun. And this is my most viewed video on the channel for the moment, so this is kind of my thing, I guess. I thought this was fascinating because both sets of characters are different in a way that reflects their respective countries' history. And because I know a bit about both countries and what these characters represent for them, I thought I would share that with you. Anyway, let's learn about the original show first. Simply called Ghosts, the British show was first released in 2019. But as I said, I have not seen it, so let's just talk about the plot. A woman receives a castle or manor, depending on the show, from a great aunt that recently passed away. With her husband, they decide to turn the place into a bed and breakfast. But while they explore the house, the woman hurts herself and falls into a coma. She wakes up after a couple of days, but soon finds out that she has a new ability: she can see ghosts. And there are a bunch of them that can't leave the house. Now, I'm going to explain the main differences between the shows and then we'll talk about the characters. There will be spoilers, so you have been warned. There are multiple seasons, but only the first one of the American show is available where I am, so I will only be talking about the first season. The first season of the American version was released in 2021. A fifth season is planned to be released later this year. We follow Samantha and her husband Jay. They leave New York to come live in a manor. Jay is a chef and Sam is a freelance journalist. The first season of the French show was released this year. We follow Alison and her husband Nabil in France. I said it with a French accent. They move into their new castle and start to renovate it. During the show, we have similar plot lines. I'm thinking about the rivalry with their neighbors, for example. But they quickly become different, adapting to the different characters and cultures. Now, let's talk about the different characters. The house. I know I said I was going to talk about the characters, but the house is so important that it might as well be one. We have two very different houses in the two shows. The American one is really a country mansion, while the French one is a full-blown castle. That makes sense given that there are castles everywhere in France. The main difference is that the castle is in much worse state than the mansion. The couple. We've already talked briefly about the couples, but let's go more in detail about them. In the American show, we have Sam and Jay. They used to live in the city but moved to the countryside after they got a house. At the beginning, they miss the city and their friends, but then realize that a manor full of ghosts is actually much more fun. We don't have this at all in the French show. I have to say the couples are quite different, but that has to do because of the different cultures. I don't think that the way the French characters were written would have worked in the American show. In the French show, Nabil, the husband, is pretty dumb and annoying, whereas Jay is less of a man-child. Like, Nabil made Alison sign papers for a loan while she was in a coma, and now they're in debt. Like, that's so fucked up, but it's all playful out, so okay, I guess. The dynamic are pretty different, but again, I think that's because we don't have the same humor in France. But the characters I really want to talk about are the ghosts. As I said, the ghosts are different, but most of them still fill the same role. For example, in the American show we have Hetty Woodstone. She is Sam's ancestor and was the owner of the house at some point. She died in 1895, grew up and lived in the house. Her French counterpart is Marie-Catherine de Mérudeux. She is a countess and also the ancestor of Alison. She owned a castle during the 1700s. You can see that they are not exactly the same person, they are not from the same time period, but they fill the same role in the show. There is one character that is exactly the same, and that's our guy. His name is Pete in English and Daniel in French, and he died being shot by a kid. This is exactly the same story, except one takes place in the 70s and the other one in the 80s. But there's no real difference. So now I'm gonna go over the equivalents and then talk about the characters that are unique to both shows. The first ones to die on the property were Tayak in the French show and Thorfinn in the American show. Tayak is a Cro-Magnon man, and he died during the prehistorical era. He struggles to talk because he physically does not have the ability to. His counterpart is Thorfinn. He's a Viking, commonly called Thor. He was abandoned by his group. He speaks more than Tayak but still struggles a bit. On the property we also have a military man. We have Isaac Higgintoot, who died during the Revolutionary War. I can say revolutionary because I'm French, and Higgintoot makes me laugh so hard. This was a very hard sentence to record. Anyway, he was fighting against the British Army, and he was very gay, even though it took him a couple hundreds of years to figure it out. Throughout the first season, he's extremely flamboyant but very blind to it. His French counterpart is Colonel Georges Perrache. He died during the Second World War. He is also understood to be attracted to men, even though he does not have a love interest. And he is also a part of a duo of ghosts. Right outside the driveway, there's a tree where a ghost is tied. He also lived during the Second World War, but was what we call un collabo, meaning he was a Frenchman that was denouncing Jewish people, neighbors who were hiding them, or people who were working for the resistance. Given that he was collaborating with the Nazis, he is the enemy. But his snitching does come in handy at one point in the first season. Let's go underneath the house for a second. In the basement, there are a bunch of ghosts that live there. In the American version, they are a group that died of cholera. In the French version, they are Gaulois who died of food poisoning. Again, they're not exactly the same, but they fill the same role. The most recent ghosts in both shows are a young man named Trevor, who died in 2000 after his heart exploded because of drugs. He died without pants and was a stockbroker on Wall Street, very douchey and very horny. His equivalent is Roland Givoran, a politician who died in the house in the 1980s. He doesn't have pants on because he died in the middle of an orgy. Another main ghost that has an equivalent is Flower. She's a hippie from the 70s, she was part of a cult and is still high on drugs. She was killed by a bear after robbing a bank. Her French equivalent is Berthe. Now, she's quite different but fills almost the same role. She's a peasant from the Middle Ages who is the opposite of Marie-Catherine, just like Flower is the opposite of Hetty. Just through these characters, you can see the difference between the French and American cultures and history. Your big war that took place in the US was the Revolutionary War, I said it correctly, while in France it was World War II. A rich lady that is very proper, even though her husband was horrible, is alive during the 18th century, dressed like she could belong at Versailles. For Americans, it's a woman from the 19th century who hates Irish people. But there are a few characters that are unique for both shows. Let's start with the American ones. Sass is Native American, and he's also one of the oldest one here. Another character we have is Alberta Haynes. She's a singer from the 1920s. Both of these characters are typically American, and they both represent a part of its history. Obviously, we don't have Native Americans in France, and we don't have the same approach to Black history and characters like Alberta. In the French show, we have Auguste. He's a poet from the 17th century, I would say. He is desperately in love with Allison. In the American version, it's Trevor who is in love with Sam. Another French character is the creepy girl. But as it turns out, she's actually nice, and the reason why the couple stays in the house at the end. She's also related to Allison. Those are all of the main ghosts. The American show has a lot more ghosts that show up every now and then. The British soldiers, including Nigel, he was killed by Isaac on accident, and they are each other's love interests. We meet Hetty's husband, but then, whoosh. And then there's the teenage girl in the attic that only wakes up once a year, and others are probably escaping my mind. As I said, the two shows are similar plot-wise. Both shows revolved around a couple struggling to find money before opening their B&B. But Allison, in the French show, discovers she's pregnant in the last episode. She considers leaving the house, but the creepy girl ghost shows her her old bedroom, and she understands that the ghost would love to have some new life around here. I really like this because it was very emotional. In the American show, children can see ghosts, and I hope that will be the case with the baby. Usually in ghost stories, children can see ghosts but lose the ability once they grow up because they lose their sense of wonder and imagination and become more rational. But in this case, maybe the kid could keep that gift, and that would be so cool. We had a similar emotional moment when Thor confessed to Hetty that he was the one singing this weird lullaby to her when she was a kid. There are a couple of nice moments here and there that make me like these shows very much. Another one of my favorites is when we find out that Trevor is actually a good guy. This is all so nice to watch, it's like a comfort show. We have some drama happening, but nothing too bad, and I like that. I also like that some of the ghosts have some kind of power that allows them to interact with the livings. We don't really know anything about how they work, but neither do them. We slowly learn as they do crazy things. I can't wait to find out more and also learn about the different ghosts, meet some new ones, see what happens with the baby. I just wanted to make this little video to highlight the differences between the two shows and how it makes sense. If you have been able to see the original UK version, please tell me if we find similar characters or plots. As you can tell, I really like both shows and can't wait to see what's next. Thank you for watching this video, and I'll see you soon on this channel for videos about cinema, TV shows, and music.